Was this a day in the life of audio excellence continued?
Behind the scenes.
Yes. Yes. Actually, there's a couple of videos that I watched that they include the behind the scenes. That's actually more interesting.
We should set up some bloopers on purpose.
Yes. It's more interesting than the actual content sometimes.
Actual content.
Yeah, because, sometimes the content is horrible, but the behind the scenes is more interesting.
Can we get a shot of you just talking over the microphone?
That's right.
As you get up
What?
for blooper reel.
I'm not a morning person.
So, okay, it's recording, right?
Yeah.
So what happened last night just before you listened?
Well, I had, as you trained me, timing and scheduling different things.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I dropped off a client's Magnepan.
Yeah.
Did a bunch of things,
Yeah.
and then.
Yeah, what's the story with Kenpar? It's like we schedule them to pick up, they never show
it's
up.
It's not even just Kenpar.
And we have to go and deliver.
I went to
it. So we're doing
Kenpar.
Well, let's just stop using Campar. We're only saving pennies.
Not really,
No,
but
quite
anyways.
a
A
bit
few
of money.
dollars
No,
sometimes.
No,
It's substantial.
It's substantial sometimes.
But I mean, if it works, it's supposed to work properly. It's just Kenpar sometimes is a pain in the butt.
Yeah. And then
So what
so I
happened?
had 2 hours left after before closing time.
What
And
did you do
then
the rest of the day? You're just slacker.
bunch
You're
of
such a
stuff.
slacker.
A bunch of stuff.
You're a
Websites,
disgrace to the Asian community.
Edited a video, a bunch of
He's
stuff.
Korean. He's not Chinese, so I
Yeah,
don't
it's
think it really
Asian.
counts.
It's Asian.
Sorry.
Yeah, I made sales for you yesterday, and then
He had to just sort of slide in, and the one day in the whole month he actually sells something. I made sales.
yes,
So what? You sold something to Jerry?
no,
I can't
Why?
afford this.
that's how Jerry got in here, right? It's
Well,
'cause
yeah,
I
we sold him stuff. I sold.
Yeah.
Well,
What did you sell?
Both.
I sold him the
MyTech.
MyTech,
No, I mean yesterday. What did you sell?
the i5 Pro IDSD and the Hyphaman Aria.
That's like a 4.4 million. What's the difference between that and the regular iPro Pro ISD?
4.4 version versus 2.5.
Yeah,
It's the connectors. People
it's just
like
a connector. That's it.
people like 4.4 now.
Okay.
I actually started deviating away from the headphone.
By the way, Jerry, it's more
Stuff.
money. We have to change it on our website. Yeah, it's
I
4,000 instead of 35.
Yeah, so unintentional discount.
Oh no.
you
but-
never discount.
And what?
No,
Okay.
And then what
Adrian
else did you
praises
sell?
you for never discounting.
That's right.
Me, I'm a sucker.
Only refunds.
Well, I do discount, just that sometimes it doesn't make sense to discount.
So what else did you sell? The Aria headphone?
Yeah.
Back ordered.
Yeah, that's back ordered. Why are we talking about this? Anyways, I did my work, and then
All headphone jacks, the ones that are like 4.4, 2.5, 6.3, they all kind of suck. Because what you see is just the outside, but what's actually inside the receptacle is kind of, not that substantial. There should be an improvement in those designs.
Everybody should just go with balance, and that's it. Balance.
Well, certain balanced ones, they have pins, so that's
Yeah.
better. Because the pins actually have better contact.
yeah.
Underground.
So
Okay,
then,
so
what else did you
you're
sell?
trying to listen.
What else did you sell?
okay, so
I want to give him some praise.
I
for-
sold
for
the
the
Hago
good job he did.
H120
Yes.
and a Sona cables.
Nice.
Oh, so that's the 90 sitting there, not the 120. That
Huh?
You sold the 120.
No, it's a
No, brand new.
Oh, brand new?
Yeah.
There's brand new ones? Oh,
Yeah.
right.
The 120, there's still some stock. Yeah.
Yeah, the funny news is that none of them was like sale because they just wanted it.
You didn't have to do anything. So I'm taking away the praise I was going to give him.
Yeah, so the demo for the H120, and then quite frankly enough, he demoed the Magnepans, but decided to buy the Hago that he didn't
Yeah.
listen
Oh,
to.
that's a gentleman.
Yeah. So he was here like
He came in to listen to
yeah,
the
and then he
LRS.
stayed, and then we chatted, and then he bought that, and then right after, I got a call from another client.
Feeding?
Yeah, and he wanted the Hyphaman and the i5. And then after that, Jerry closed, and I was left in the store, so I had like, okay, I have to listen to this thing because I'm doing a video tomorrow. So I listened to it for about 20 minutes before I had to really go. But the funny thing is, back and forth. Like
So before you start, let me just say that we turned on the video early to give everybody a sense of behind the scenes, because our videos are literally like this. This is how we talk. There's no script. There's nothing. We just talk and then we just turn it on and the guys edit it. So this morning, as soon as we sat down, Philip immediately complained, saying he didn't have any time to listen to the equipment that we wanted to do a video of. And then Jay started riffing off that. So I said, you know what? Let's just do a part one and understand that we will probably
Look,
do
I
a part.
put all the stuff together, okay, and fired it up because it hadn't really been turned on. And then I called the distributor to find out if any hours had been put on there.
What did he say?
And he gave me answers that were, of course, inaccurate. He had no clue, really no clue, because he thought one unit had some hours, then the other unit didn't have hours, and it probably is the other way around. So
what are we talking about?
the Pier audio was already, he had 2 units, and one of them had some hours on it, which is the one he actually gave to us.
Are we shit talking Richard right now?
We're not shit talking Richard. I'm just saying, here's what happened, and this is the facts going into the situation here. So I listened to that thing, and I was switching back and forth between the Pier audio, the synthesis. What is it? What's the model number?
The synthesis is called the Roma 96
Right,
DC Plus.
Roma 96
Nice
DC
name.
Plus. That's the new version.
I think today the video will be entitled "Our Gripes."
It's not a gripe.
Yes, it is.
What it is here's a situation where
We'll just do a video just about griping.
I think the title should be videos we couldn't do.
We'll just do gripes.
so I contacted Richard to find out what hours were on these units, because you got to have some. Break-in is important. It's really important. It can change a lot, and a lot of people don't realize this, or they just deny it, and they don't trust
So
their
what did
ears.
Richard say?
Richard, of course, said that the synthesis might have had some hours on it, and the Pier Audio 480 that we have here didn't have hours on it. And it sounded exactly the opposite, because when I turned on both units and listened to them, the synthesis had this kind of bloated bass and tizzy high end, which didn't sound anything like tubes to me. And then the Pier Audio, which is a hybrid design, was warm and rich and focused and together and cohesive and harmonious, and it sounded really great to me. And it's quite a less expensive piece than the synthesis, made in China instead of Italy. And so I'm talking to Richard, going like, "Are you sure about this? Like, what's going on here?" And then I did make one little gripe to him. I said, "You're gonna take these units to your dealers and so forth. If these are your samples, they should at least be broken in. Like, you should fire them up."
He usually does. I mean,
I know he's usually pretty good, but this
he's-
time he didn't.
Yeah.
So
So let me again just introduce this. We were going to do 2 videos today. One was on the Synthesis Roma 96 DC Plus, and the other one's on a Pier Audio, Pier Audio MS, so Mary Sam 480 SE, single-ended. I'm just calling it single-ended, SE, Sam Edward. And
I believe the SE is special edition.
yeah, I'm just calling it single-ended. It's just so that people know what SE stands for, because when
Okay.
you're talking to a mic or in a phone, S can sound like F as in Frank. So, so I usually listen the day off, very early in the morning, and then the guys usually listen during the week. But this week was pretty busy, and we didn't really get a chance until, what's today, Friday. So I think Wednesday, Philip, before the end of the day, turned on the synthesis amplifier, and as I was heading out, I heard him play it at pretty high levels. And just as I was walking out, the 30 seconds of listening to it, I thought it sounded quite nice from the hallway. And that was my first impression of it. So, having said all of that, so Philip sits down this morning and he says, "Why are we doing this? It's not broken in. It completely sounds different this morning than when I left on Wednesday." And I, of course, haven't talked to Jay at all, other than Jay saying, "Are we really going to do this? Are we allowed to say bad things?" And I thought, oh. I said, "Yes, say whatever you want." So today the video is going to be gripes. And then understand that this is probably going to be part 1, because as Villa pointed out, some of the one or two of the items may not be fully broken in. We're not really sure, but we'll continue to break it in. But I thought it might be interesting, if it is, for you to watch how we gripe all day long between ourselves, against each other, and about products. So you know that this is not unusual. So when you comment, some of you comment, or one or two of you comment that there's tension there, this is normal. It's just how families are. Okay, last time...
What a dysfunctional family.
It is. Well, most families are. Jay, why don't you start, since you have something interesting I think you want to talk about. So again, everybody understand that this is part one. We will do a follow-up, and once we think that it's fully broken in, we'll do a part one. But I think the reason I wanted to do a video of this, maybe I should say this, so Richard is the importer of Hegel. And over the years that I've known Richard, I have come to trust that he has really good ears. I may not necessarily like what he likes, but what he describes, I hear oftentimes the same way. So when he brings us things, a lot of times I have interest because I hear the same kind of things and hear the same way. So he brought in two products, or two lines. One is Synthesis Audio, tube amplifiers, integrated in this case, made in Italy. And then Pier, P-I-E-R Audio, designed in France, manufactured in China. So why don't we start first with Pier Audio, because it's the less expensive. So in Canada, let me just give you the background. It's an integrated amplifier. In Canada, it sells for $16.99. So in the States, it'll be like $3 or $4. That's how weak our Canadian dollar is. You can get it either in black or gold in the face. It's a hybrid, so 50 watts per channel, two 12AT7s, two 12AU7 tubes, and you can see the tubes, and at the top there are two windows. And then for outputs, the factory uses 4 Toshiba bipolar transistors. Now, it's interesting, when you go on the website, they specify bipolar transistors, and then specifically says, we do not use MOSFETs. So obviously they don't like MOSFETs. And then they've
already got tubes in there. Why do they need MOSFETs?
They specify that they use Nichicon power supply caps from Japan, and WEMA or SER polypropylene signal caps from France. And so why don't we start there? Jay, what was your first impression of the integrated?
The made in China one? The
Yes.
Pier?
The little black one, or which one did you listen to?
I listened to both.
Okay, because one has hours, the other doesn't, supposedly.
Well, I didn't know that either.
Did it sound different?
But two of them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you talking about the... Wait, hang on, just so we...
What are you talking
There's
about?
two Pure Audio 480s in there. One has a gold...
You're talking about... Which one did you listen to?
I listened to the black one because...
I listened to the black one, yeah.
Because that's
That's
what
the
Richard
closest
brought
one.
in. And I never hooked up the other one. But I listened to... Yeah, okay. But you only listened to
And
the
which
black
one did you find non-tubey?
The Synthesis. Sort of. There's a story behind that.
Another story, okay. Yeah, well... Pier, what's the price point of a Pier?
$16.99.
$16.99. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, that one sounded tubey to me. But again, like, it was... Wait, did you find it otherwise?
I found it very tubey, yeah.
Yeah, I found it tubey. And...
In a really nice way.
Yeah. And I had it running the entire day yesterday before I listened to it. So that room was boiling hot. So that gave me a more warmer presentation. What's going on?
Go ahead.
I had a more warmer presentation because the room was warm. I don't know what to say. It just sounds like tubes to me. The mid-range was nice. It was relatively holographic.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I liked it, but I don't...
It's a qualified...
Yeah, it's a qualified tube amplifier. Like, it sounds tubey. But to me, like, it there was a little bit of lack on the sweetness in the sound. Maybe that's because it's not fully broken in, like Philip said. but there was a lack of a little bit sweetness on the top end. It sounded a little bit closed in, whereas the synthesis was like the total opposite. But we'll talk about that later. Yeah, go ahead, Philip.
Huh.
What?
What do I need to say?
What sounds are you making?
This will be part 1, so don't worry. We'll
yeah,
go
this
into
is
more
this is
detail.
the unofficial version.
Well, you heard all the same things I heard,
Oh, okay.
sort of, but
Okay.
our impressions are different. In other words, I did find it, like you said, it's closed down a little bit on the top end, but I didn't mind it that way because actually, when there's a lot of energy or more energy above 10,000 hertz, it can sound to me a bit dry and clinical, and I don't like that kind of a sound. Or it can sound artificial, in my opinion, because to me it's an exaggeration. Like I just don't want that there if it's not really there. If they're just heightening it and boosting it, like some cartridges are boosted that way. If you look at the curve above 10,000, there's a rise. Moving coil cartridges are often like that, and to me they're a bit bright sounding. And so I didn't find that the ZAM did that, and I really like the balance of it.
Is Richard here? Bring him in. Richard's
Richard's
here.
here.
All right,
Richard's here.
we'll continue. Come on, Richard. Come, grab a chair. Grab a
So-
chair. We're talking shit
we're-
about you.
We're not talking.
Get a chair for Richard. Yeah, take it.
We were-
and a mic.
we were
Can you check to
just-
make sure he sits on he's in the frame?
We were just talking.
No. Can
shit.
somebody check and make sure he's in the frame? Come, Richard, sit.
I have the comic.
You
Soon as give me a lift for the car. My car's in for repair. So
his as well.
yeah, so
Here, come, have a seat.
All right, so we'll cut the film here and we'll include
No. We'll
Richard.
continue. This
we
is
just
fun.
continue?
We're
You gotta
talking shit.
reframe it.
Can you
gotta
check to make
reframe
sure
it.
he's in the frame?
He's not in the frame.
He's not in the frame. Can you move the camera so that we're both? And he needs a microphone. Where's the microphone?
We don't have an
Microphone
extra
is
one.
in my car.
It's in your car. All right, we'll have
All
to
right,
cut. So this is Richard. Richard owns the distribution company that brings in Hagel, the two products that we're going to be talking about today. We're going to talk shit about it today. And he also brings Kabas, Meze headphones, Mr. Speaker,
Well, that's not Mr.
Asona
Speaker anymore.
cables. What
Dan
else?
Clark Audio. Yeah.
Sorry, what?
Dan
Dan
Clark.
Clark Audio. Changed name.
Dan Clark?
Dan Clark. Yeah.
How
who's
come I don't
the
know that?
founder and the.
It's no longer Mr. Speaker. It's
Oh, they changed.
it's Dan Clark.
Dan Clark Audio. Okay.
It makes sense. I mean, it's a headphones. Why is it Mr. Speaker? Because it was originally a speaker product, but now they're
This is the audio industry. It doesn't have to make sense.
like, why is it Macintosh? What what do like
Frank
Frugals?
McIntosh. No, that was Frank
Scots or
McIntosh.
something like that.
And just a little point for Hagel, actually, it's I work almost as a super
agent.
national sales.
He's
rep,
not the
so it's through
distributor.
Hagel Canada. Actually.
He's not the
So it's not
distributor.
an independent distributor with Hagel.
Anyway,
it's actually very long-term.
as you've probably gathered from watching the earlier part of this video today, it's nothing formal. We're just chatting because we decided it's going to be part 1 of a more extended.
And Richard's ears were burning, and so he actually
That's right.
transferred himself from his
teleported.
distribution office, not that far away from here, and he came here and he said, "You guys are smack talking me, aren't you?"
That's right. He teleported over
we
here
weren't.
immediately as we were talking. He was texting me, "Your door's locked. Open up. Let me in." So anyway, everybody, welcome Richard.
Thank you.
And by the way, you'll notice different color skin, different eyes. So you, for some of you who've been complaining or emailing me directly saying, "You guys are all Asians. What's going on?" He's our token white guy.
But he's involved with an Asian.
Oh, that's
so-
right. So it doesn't count. We'll have to get somebody who's not involved. Well,
What?
Isn't this?
We're diverging, personal aspects of his
this
life.
video is so screwed up today.
Okay.
Anyway, so we were talking about
The Pier audio.
Pure audio and synthesis. So Philip started by saying he contacted you. He wasn't sure if any of these units had any hours. And you weren't, I guess, sure either. So we were originally going to do the actual video today, but Philip protested, saying, "I don't think we should," and I agree with him. If it's not fully broken in, that won't be fair. But I thought, since we're already here, And Jay went through all the trouble of setting the equipment up. Let's just do a part one and talk a little bit about the company.
Let's talk about how dedicated Jay is, because he drags in all this
That's
stuff
right.
every week for us to do these things.
That's right. And then we'll do a part two, because I think, based on my listening this morning, very early this morning, I think these items are worthwhile talking about. Normally, if it didn't sound good, and we wouldn't, but based on my listening, I think it's worthwhile talking. So Jay had given his initial impressions. He was non-committal. He thought that the Pier one sounded tube-like, but didn't have a lot more to say. Highs were a little bit closed down, and this was around 6:30 or so when he listened to it last night. Philip, go ahead, Philip.
Well, I mean, Richard, Jay and I both heard the same things, and we heard the same things. He didn't like it as much because the top end was, to him, a little bit closed down, and to me, I don't mind having the top end be a little bit more laid back and not so energetic, because I don't find natural music to have some sort of super extended high frequency response. Like, where most rooms will attenuate high frequencies. High frequencies are very directional. So when you're listening to natural music, it's a whisper. It's not a shout. And so when a tube gear doesn't have that kind of shouty top end, I like that. I think that's more natural. I think it's more realistic in a way that portrays music accurately in a as compared to my natural response when I listen to a live performance. That's as analogous as I can get it. So when I listened to the Pier audio, and I told you that because you were there that day, it just seemed way more put together in a nice way, and everything seemed connected, and I was very surprised by the level of accomplishment in that little tiny amp. Because I know you'd always championed it, but I thought, no way it can be like that. And
I disagree.
I know you disagree.
Well, you're
And by the
talking
way,
about
Jerry, when you get a chance, insert pictures. If possible, make it so that there's a scale, so people see how it is physically. It's not a full size unit. It's about half size. It's not very big.
just put your head beside it.
Well, then definitely nobody will know. But anyway, so overall, you felt you liked it.
Well, yeah. So let me give you guys a brief overview of how we listen to these units. We had it in our front room, which is a very small room. Tall ceilings, but it's a relatively small room, almost in near field. We're fairly close. We're using a pair of Sonus Faber Olympica Nova 1s, which are on their stands, which is an excellent speaker. So it's $11,000 Canadian speaker setup. We're using a pair of Nordos Purple Flare speaker cable. So that's not inexpensive. It's a good starter audiophile cable. And Zen Mini Mark III streamer server without the power supply, just the stock unit. And using the M2 Tech derived DAC built into it, going out analog via Nordos Heimdall cable. So that's an expensive cable. It's $1,000.
Cables are like half the price of more than half the
Yeah.
size of
So
price
those
of
of
the
you
integrated.
out there who are deniers, deny no more, because they actually do. These things make a difference. So it was not an elaborate system, but there's good bits on it, but not super crazy over the top. So perhaps the Pier was the least expensive part of the entire system, and that's how we did it. I did it for the Pier, the Synthesis, and my reference point, which was the Hagel 120. I used that as the reference point, and so I listened to the Pier, and I liked it way more than Jay did. Like, I think I was effusive in my praise for it that day. Because I was expecting that I would have to, burn it in before it would sound good, and it sounded good to me right away. I liked it. I really liked it.
So I came in this morning. I was here around 3:30. I couldn't sleep as usual, so I got here by 3:30, and I turned everything on, let it all warm up till about 5:30. I did all my paperwork, and then I went in to listen to both the Synthesis and the Pier. I was going to call it Pier 1, Pier Audio. I started with the Pier Audio first, and I didn't hear the closed down nature that Jay did. If anything, I found it very open, very airy. In fact, I was really surprised. It definitely had a bit of a tube flavor to me, but the transients were amazing. So it literally was a great combination of as you would expect, a really good hybrid would be. I made notes about the different recordings and things like that, but suffice to say, again, being that this is a take one, I was really very impressed with what I heard. Then when I listened to the synthesis, the differences were even more obvious. But just suffice to say, I can see why. What's that magazine in France? Diapason?
Diapason, yeah.
Yeah. One of the most highly regarded, I guess, prestigious magazines in Europe gave it a great award in 2017. I can see why. It had all the hallmarks that I would generally like. Overall, I would still prefer a slightly warmer sound, but $16.99.
Warmer than that? Really?
Huh?
Warmer than...
Well, again, this morning, what I heard didn't sound warm. It sounded. It didn't sound. It didn't sound bright. It didn't sound warm. It was quite neutral. It had a bit of a tube flavor to it. Incredible transients.
It's 'cause I kicked it yesterday.
Very airy. So for example, I'll give you an example of what I mean by transients. That St. James Infirmary Hans Diesing, one of the cuts I really hate, but we use it because it's one of our
guitar, the way it kind of just like
shocking.
It comes out of nowhere.
Just jumped at me,
Yeah.
and I was going, whoa, what's going on? This is crazy, and bass dynamics, it was all there, and so after I listened and made my notes, as I was preparing my notes in terms of the specifications for this video, I was on their website, and then I saw that there was a link to, what's it called, Fans of Threshold / Past Labs. There's a link. So I clicked on the thing, and it's basically this group, I guess, of people who happen to love Threshold and Past Labs, and they did a review on the Pier, I was going to call it Pier 1 again, Pier Audio, and they have two reference systems. The second reference system is based around the Apogee Diva. So for those of you who don't know, Apogee was a company that existed in the 80s and 90s. They made ribbon speakers, which were very difficult to drive, very, very insensitive, and in some models, very low impedance. And they used this Pure Audio in the Diva system. And they said it not only drove it very well, they were shocked at how well it could do, given that this thing is $16.99 and rated only for 50 watts. Now, of course, I have no way of verifying that. All I can tell you is that it did not sound like it was 50 watts. It definitely sounded way more dynamic. And of course, then the question becomes, did it dethrone the Hagel H90, which is our, what would you say, benchmark?
It's our benchmark, yeah.
In this sort of a very
It's our
affordable,
affordable
for us, very
benchmark.
affordable price range. Well, I'm not going to spoil it. We'll talk about this the next video.
More to come.
Maybe
Richard?
just add, because you were talking about maybe wanting a little more on the tube sound,
Yes.
and you were fine. I spoke with Michel Tassilly, the owner of Pure Audio, this morning. I was on the phone with him. He's coming out with a 580 next month. That does not replace the 480, but actually different circuit design, more of a hybrid between the 680 and the 480, which will have a little more of tube character to it.
Yeah.
It'll have Bluetooth for convenience only. He's certainly not promoting it the Bluetooth side, but it'll be a little more expensive.
I honestly didn't have any real complaints. Even though I said it wasn't as warm as I generally would like, that's just because I happen to like a warmer sound. That doesn't mean that it was a complaint. Far from it.
Just this is just the character that he's letting me know about for this new 580 coming out, which will be a little more tube oriented. It's a 3-tube design versus a 4 on this, and it'll come out maybe $300 more than the 480.
Only $300 more?
It's a half size. It won't replace the 480.
So if it's only $300 more, why would anybody?
Well, the tubes will sound different, right?
Tubes, different circuit. He says more stable circuit as well. To that point with the Maggies, we'll have to see. He says the 680 with any Maggie is no problem, the bigger model.
Well, see, that's another thing. We're going to test it with our torture test of speakers called the LRS, the Magnepan
You
LRS
can
and C.
put pretty much anything on with that amp. Some big.
Well, we'll try with the
reference
480
speakers on it,
first,
yeah.
and then when the 580 comes, we'll try that.
Yeah,
But
they
I'm
were saying the 680 is the one that will be with
Yes.
the Maggies. We'll play any Maggie.
But
The
I'm actually
480
very
is-
interested in trying the 480 with the Maggies. I ran out of time this morning. I didn't get a chance to, but I was going to. But I did do a comparison with the H90 Hagel. And I'm sorry, we're throwing a lot of numbers out. And by the way, I started out saying that maybe we'll call this video the gripe video. Here's one of my gripes. Why do these manufacturers come up with these numbers or names of their products that make no sense to me at all? An MS-480SE. What's the 480? What does it stand for? Right? Or the synthesis later, right? The Roma, okay, fine. Roma's a name. 96 DC plus.
Well, those were periods in history. That's why he's chosen periods in history, and you'd have to take the history.
Well, what does 96 mean?
I
We'll
can't
get-
actually remember. between the-
Well, it
what
might be
happened
96
historically,
kilohertz.
but
Maybe
that's
it's
where it
96
is.
kilohertz.
No, it isn't actually. It's more in the history.
At least with Macintosh, when they put out a model like a 2301, it's 2 channels, 300 watts, mono.
And it
block
was
one.
always like that, if you think about it, all the way right back to the beginning. Then
Yeah, that makes sense
But
to
that doesn't
me.
challenge your mind.
Well, I'm a
that
simpleton.
doesn't
I'm a
challenge your
simpleton.
mind.
BMW, 5 Series, BMW, same, similar.
Right? I'm a simpleton. When you say it's a 480 SE, what does 480 stand for? 48
4
watts?
tubes, 8 transistors. I don't know.
Oh, there you go. Except they only use 4 transistors according to them. Anyway, so
4 plus 4.
yeah. So okay, that's the Pier one. In other words, I really liked it this morning. Philip kind of liked it so far. Part one.
I really liked it.
Okay.
Okay.
And Jay absolutely did not like it. He
No,
thinks it
I
sucked.
kind of liked it.
No, you thought it sucked.
You
this
just wanna
morning,
join the party.
You said, Are you allowed to say bad things? I said, go
That's
ahead.
not actually. That was not about the Pier. The Pier was the one that's good.
Oh, okay, all right. Oh, okay. So now we're going to go part.
What?
Okay, now
Yeah.
we're going to talk about the
My
synthesis.
only complaint. See, the Pier is a tube, right? It sounds
a
tubey to
hybrid.
me. Well, okay, well, it sounds tubey to me, and so it sounds good. My only complaint is that the top end, in the contrary to what Adrian experienced, I didn't find it as airy as I would have
Well, we
liked.
need to save some of these comments if we're going to do a more formal review.
well, yeah.
'Cause I have way more.
Okay.
Well, yeah, but that, I'm
Observation.
just saying that was just only my complaint. That
Are we
you know,
running out of time? We're okay?
All right, I'm gonna gripe about one thing, and
Okay.
Richard already knows this because I talked to him about it.
Uh-huh.
I don't like the LEDs on it.
You know what? It's called duct tape.
There you go. I offered it yesterday.
What about the LED don't you like?
So there's a row of LEDs on the left. So the unit, like this, on the left side of it, there's a row of LEDs to show you that it's on, and that's operational, and then that it's auxiliary 1, 2, or 3,
Yeah,
or
the
4.
inputs, yeah.
The inputs. It'll tell you which one it is. So the operational LED turns on, and then it finally turns green, and it's like not too bright. So we know that they can get an LED that's not too bright, and then the input LED is a red one, and it's like a flashlight. It's like a beacon. That to me just doesn't make sense. So why put them in if they're like that bright? And this is not just a complaint about this product, but in specific reference to this product. Yes, that's an ongoing issue. So lots of equipment are it's like that. But the fact of the matter is, they actually have an LED that's not too bright. So why can't they make all the LEDs of that same brightness? It makes no sense to me.
Maybe this is a voltage issue. Maybe everything's beautiful in 220 volt.
So
No.
you know what? I get that point. It's when I turn all the lights off at night to listen to music, I have equipment.
Yes.
And it's all shining the shit out of me.
Yeah.
So I just take a black duct tape, right? Not white ones, but black ones. Stick on.
You know what I would do? I would
And it's
put
pitch black.
a little gray piece of neutral density filter or something like that.
Sure.
And I've done that. But
Sure.
that to me is annoying.
I also started painting my house gray, so that it absorbs light. So it's
Okay.
darker.
All right,
so
let's
that's why
move
I'm
on
so
because this is
tired.
getting
Talk
very
about the
boring to me.
synthesis. Talk about the synthesis.
Very boring. All right, let's
fallen
talk about the synthesis. So Synthesis Audio, let me give the background. Synthesis Audio, I first heard about them in the mid 90s. Another distributor friend of ours was bringing the line in from Italy. And at the time, the most popular model was the small little tube amplifier. Literally, when I say small, we're talking small. And they were cute little things. They were monoblocks. I think they were using EL84s. I don't remember.
That's right.
And they were like 10, 15 watts. Couldn't drive anything in terms of speakers that I liked, but it had a nice tone. We couldn't give it away. I mean, as a store. Now, again, as our store, we're unusual perhaps, but we couldn't give it away. We couldn't sell it. Finally sold off our demos, and that was my memory of what Synthesis Audio was. So then Richard says, hey, I've got this tube line. You've been complaining you're looking for a tube line. I've got this. It's from Italy, and it's called Synthesis. And then suddenly something went ding, ding, ding. Why do I know this brand? And then he starts describing it, and I said, oh, I remember that. No, I'm not interested. No, they've changed. They've got bigger amplifiers. They're now made in Italy. They don't make anything else anywhere. You got to try it out.
They are made in Italy.
That's right.
Always made in Italy.
And you got to try it. I said, fine, because I do trust Richard. He and I hear very similar things. So he brought it. And so just a bit of background. I didn't know this until I read this morning on the website. The original... The father who started the company originally in 1961 called Fasel, Fasel, and they made transformers, chokes, and inductors for musical instruments and tube amplifiers. Now here's where it gets interesting. They have an inductor called a red Fasel, how do you pronounce Fasel, which was produced for Dunlop and was used in the Crybaby wah pedal for guitarists. I have one of those from way back.
You play?
I had no idea that this was anyway. And they also made the legendary guitar amp Vox AC30.
Oh, that's a really great
They made the
guitar
output
amp.
transformer for that. I have one of those.
You know,
I
it
had
has
no
a really
idea.
beautiful paper driver on it. It has a beautiful tone.
So anyway,
Those Voxes are
1992,
really
the
good.
son took over the company and took it further and started manufacturing, I guess, stereo equipment. So the product that Richard brought us is called the Roma 96 DC Plus. Again, no idea why they called it Roma.
The plus is the DAC.
Okay.
So you see the plus, that means
It's
there's
really like a
internal-
minus, but
Yeah.
It's 25 watts,
sorry, Richard.
pure Class A, integrated amp with a DAC, 4 EL34s, 2 12AU7s, and two two 12AU7s or ECC82s. The DAC has a USB input, coax optical. In the USB, it's capable of 32 bits, 384. It also has Phono, 2-line inputs, and a remote control. And different finishes available on the website. You'll see red, silver brush, aluminum, black, a whole bunch of different ones. What are we getting in Canada?
Four would be offered. So,
Yeah.
he used traditionally with the company, it's been the wood faceplates.
Yeah.
Then a couple of years ago, he came out with brushed aluminum. So we're offering the silver brushed aluminum, the black brushed aluminum. So if you want to put it with Inuos music server, so you have a nice match there. Then we'll have the traditional reddish wood, that's the history of the company, and a dark wood, a richer looking dark wood that will integrate.
Is it
maybe
Wenge?
into
Is
more
that the
of a-
one?
Yeah, that's probably what it would be closest to.
Okay.
Yeah, he calls it dark wood. But
Okay.
That would be the closest. So those are the four options.
Right. So anyway, that's the little bit behind Synthesis Audio and this particular product. So go ahead.
So I remember the original, those little tiny amps.
Nimbus.
Yes. And I wanted to buy one because it was so beautiful. Like, it was really, really, really beautiful. It was very low profile, and the tubes were out front, and it just looked like a really expensive product. And the color,
reddish wood?
the red wood, yeah, that was just beautiful. Except my encounter with it ended up in one of them blowing up. So it kind of turned me off of it. But I loved the way it sounded, and the way it looked and the way it felt until it destroyed itself.
Be careful you don't touch the microphone.
So I put it all together the other day, Wednesday, and I'm playing it. And I actually played that unit first, and I didn't like it. I really wanted to like it. I really wanted to like it. I like the form factor. It's very narrow, and it's not too deep. and I thought, the fact that it has a phone stage and a DAC. So I tried all those things. So I connected the Zen Mini into the DAC, and it was, because the unit was so new, it was very glary to me and bloated bass, and I didn't like that. And then I tried the phono section, and it was a little bit better. Phono was definitely better than the DAC in terms of realistic presentation. So, vinyl is better. So, but it still had the same kind of characteristics, and I thought, I got to put some hours on this. Like, this is just not enough to make any judgment on, because I'm pretty sure it doesn't sound like this. And
although it was not brand new, it
had some hours, but probably hadn't been charged up in a while, so it did change quite a bit in the time that I had with it.
So you left it on all night. I came in the morning, and the thing was blasting. When I say blasting, Richard, it was blasting.
It was only about...
It was blasting.
It was loud.
But it sounded good. The little bit that I heard.
Yeah, I'm sure it sounded
really
better the next morning.
Yeah, sounded good.
And it actually sounded better after 2 or 3 hours, and it did make a big difference. But essentially...
So your initial impressions, you weren't crazy about it?
Well, because it had this kind of glary top end that was in everything, and then the bass was really big and a little bit bloated. Now, at the same time, the soundstage was huge. It was holographic.
It's a strong point for synthesis, actually.
And it was very fast and all those things. But to me, it didn't sound as tubey as the Pier audio.
Agreed.
Agreed, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it was a bit more audiophile-ish, right? Because all the little details were there. So yeah, it's way more resolving. But those other issues probably has to do with...
I can't wait for
break-in.
the guys to go and listen today if they have time.
No, so I came in here today.
Yeah.
I listened briefly before Rune stopped working. And
what's up with Rune? Is that
know.
us or Rune?
That's us.
it's probably us. So I got to listen to 2 songs, 2 of my, that Annette song, Annette Asvik, and
Ashvik, Liberty,
Ashvik, and
Liberty.
Yeah, Liberty.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the problems I was hearing were mostly mitigated. Like, it's almost all gone. But still a little bit of what I originally heard. And then, of course, I played Hey Laura. And so to verify, because that's a male voice, and it's a much more rich, smoother kind of
Hey,
musical
Laura,
presentation. And that was better too. So that's my impression of it up to this moment. And that's why I thought to say to you, maybe we should, have a bit more time with it, because I want to do it justice. Like I said, I really want to like it. I don't want that to be like a feeling that I don't get to fully justify. I already have a preconception in that respect, and I want it to be actually proven and supported by real evidence.
Okay.
Okay.
Jay?
Well, I heard the same thing Philip heard, at least yesterday. Now, the bass, I think, is like tube-like, a little bit woolly.
Yeah.
Maybe that will tighten up with more hours, but that was my first impression. I played a bass track. What did I even play? I think I played Limit to Your Love by James Blake. But anyways, the bass was a little bit woolly, but I'm okay with that. And then, like Philip said, the soundstage was impressive. The imaging was quite good, as the focus was quite good as well. And then I noticed that, like Philip, there was an upper mid-range glare. Not so much the high frequency. The high frequency extension was almost flawless. It was just that the upper mid-range had a little bit of glassiness to it. And I think that may actually change with more time, or more warm up or whatnot. And because I've had tube amplifiers, and I'm sure you have had the same experience, where that kind of glassiness happens in the beginning, and then it goes away with more time and hour onto the unit.
Yep.
And solid state, you can deny break-in, but tube, it's like, how do you deny break-in?
I mean, we use the word organic with tube gear, and it almost is like it is evolving and changing, and like a living organism. So I think that's entirely appropriate.
Yeah, so I mean, it's all like we said, this is all like preview, but intro-wise, what's going on?
3 minutes. Okay.
3 minutes left.
Tie it all together.
Okay,
Bring it in.
so Pure Audio, as it is, it's very good. The synthesis, I think, is very, very good. It can be even better than Pure Audio or many of the tube gear out there. Just needs to be a little bit tamed in that upper mid-range, which we'll get back to you after listening to more.
And what about Richard's character? You want to end it with that?
Do you want to pause and start again? So just a final last couple of words. When I listened to it this morning, the synthesis didn't sound anything like what the guys described to me. And it's odd because usually we all hear very similar things. We all like different things, and so we have different weightings on what we hear. But it's quite interesting, and that's why I wanted for the video to continue. I didn't hear any glare at all this morning, and I played it. In fact, I was so impressed by the sound, I purposely turned it up to see whether or not the character of sound would change. Didn't hear any glare at all. If anything, I made a note that the highs were slightly soft. Very warm, silky, effortless, great details. High slightly rolled off, good impact, not great, good attack. And I noted when I compared the DAC between the Inuos and the one that's inside the synthesis, I felt that the internal DAC was overall better. Well, I shouldn't say better, warmer, richer, more analog-like, interestingly enough, because the guys today don't think that it sounds that way. I felt that with the internal DAC, it had better focus, darker, more relaxed. And then when I did do the research going on the website and making my notes, I noted that it said 25 watts pure Class A, and I thought, wow, that's interesting, because certainly earlier Class A amplifiers that I used to play with, like Class A Audio and the early Krells, they had in many ways similar kinds of characteristics, maybe slightly darker, slightly rolled off, but always had this very musical, very analog-like, very compelling, involving character. And those were the adjectives that I was relating to the Synthesis Audio, and I was really quite impressed. I liked it very much.
I kicked both units very hard last night before I left so that it would break in.
Oh, very good.
Okay. So, anyway, this is first pass.
There's a difference between break in and break it.
This is our first pass at it. We'll do a second video or part 2 maybe next week.
So I will say one other thing, which is a pretty interesting observation, because I used the H120 as my benchmark for this test, because I switched back to it eventually to hear something that I really love. Because I love the Hegel sound. And then I realized that both the Synthesis and the Pier are actually so I'm being super critical about these things, and then I'm listening to it after.
Now, don't give anything away.
The 120, and then the thing I'll give away is that your preconceptions, it's something that's very hard to escape, and you can say on the one hand, well, it's this way, but it's in actual fact not that way when you listen to it in the context of the entire gamut.
You just spent 1 minute saying nothing.
Okay.
That's perfect.
That's like a theory. It's like we're getting into a theory like, is it true? Is this a real chair?
I have to apologize for this video. I found it fascinating and entertaining. I'm not sure you will, because we didn't come to any real conclusions, and this is part 1.
I bet you we get less than 1,000 views.
But I think it might be of interest for you to watch, because besides the fact that this is, a part 1, it also is in many ways the way that we interact, the three of us. We have very different likes, dislikes, tastes, and the way that we talk. This is literally how we talk all the time. So anyway, we got to sign off. Adrian from Audio Excellence. Richard, thanks for joining us. Villet, Jay, we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.